Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new episode of Spotlight, the weekly show of the Paris Art and Movie Awards. As you know, we have every week a different guest. Everybody has to be in the industry one way or the other, but we have directors, we have distributors, we have actors, we have casting directors, we have everybody who's has something to do with making a movie, making a TV show. We want to hear from them. And this week, we're going to have a very special guest. You've seen her in American Horror Story. You've seen her in a lot of different movies, TV shows. She's an Emmy nominee. Welcome, Naomi Grossman. How are you doing, Naomi?
Hello, I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very happy to have you to chat with me on Spotlight. I feel like I know you because I've seen the shows and I studied your IMDb for this interview. So I feel like I know you a little bit. But I would like to know, for a start, who you are, in a sense. Who was the teenage girl in you before you became an actress? And how did you see yourself, 20 years later when you were a young kid?
Interestingly, I'm exactly what I thought I would be, exactly what I sought out to be. Nowadays with Facebook, we know what our, childhood crush had for breakfast. But even if it weren't for Facebook, if you were to ask any of my childhood crushes, like, where would Naomi be today? They would say, right here, right where I am. They'd say she's probably in Hollywood, on a podcast, promoting a, film or TV show.
One of a film or TV show. So you're telling me that you achieved your dream in a way? You wanted to be an actress and you became an actress?
We're never fully baked, right? There's always more to do. But yes, from a very young age, I said I wanted to be an actress. And like I said, I've got more to do yet. I'm not all done, but at the same time, it's interesting. Like, I'm honestly, like, I think as a child, I was like, as adult as I am as an adult. Then, later on, I kind of had to make up for some lost time. I felt like I needed to do some of those things that I denied myself because I was such a mature kid. And I don't know why that is. I think, I was an only child and we tend to be kind of a precocious bunch. But at the same time, yeah, I just always knew what I wanted. And that's been really kind of a blessing and a curse. I've never doubted, but at the same time, when things haven't come easy for me, I've always felt like, well, gosh, what else would I do? Like, I really didn't ever feel like there was a plan B. So I always, there's times when I felt stuck.
I kind of understand what you say. When there's no plan B, you have to deliver on plan A. If not, right, you have literally no plan B. Do you feel like you had to succeed in a way or another? Because if not, you wouldn't know what you have done?
Absolutely. I also think, what is that expression? Pride cometh before the fall. I think that totally applies to me. I think there were times when I couldn't give up because what would people say? What about my pride? Like, I couldn't go home to, Denver, Colorado, a failed actor. The truth of the matter is no one actually cares, right? No one was going to fault me. Very few people are exactly what they set out to be when they're, small children. But for whatever reason, I've just been a laser focus, sort of blinders on, and that's all I ever wanted. And it's, it's what I got. Mm-hmm.
Are you saying in a way that you took into consideration a little bit too much what other people thought of you at some point?
I think if I were to go back and tell my younger self a thing or two, I would say, you know what? No one cares. Like, you don't, it's more about you, take care of number one. And, yeah, like I said, I don't know that it would necessarily change anything about my, the path I've taken. But I think, at the end of the day, I really don't think it matters. I think we're all pretty self-centered beings.
Which is kind of a strong statement to say when you are living in Los Angeles, where everybody is watching everybody, and where we all are constantly watching other people work, and with, let's say, it's some form of jealousy sometimes.
Sure.
So how do you use the acting thing, the acting part, to kind of immerse into your job and try to leave things aside?
Absolutely. I mean, grass is always greener. We don't know what's going on, you know, inside that other person's head. You know, we can look at their IMDb and say, wow, look at, they got it going on. But, you know, you don't know. They may have just gotten dumped by their agent. They may have just, who knows, you know? So we don't.
You only ever know just a piece of the iceberg of what you see in a person at one moment in time. Speaking of IMDb, back in September and November 2014, you reached #1 on IMDb on the star meter, which means over more than 8 million people on the platform. You were the one person, Naomi Grossman, the one person the most searched on that database, and you peaked twice to #1. How did you, and I don't know if people realize how big of a deal this is. How did you feel personally, Naomi, when you saw that on your phone, on your computer?
Yeah, no, I was pretty excited. I mean, I was trying not to think about it because, you know, the fact is, like, it's just a number. It's like it's the ultimate popularity contest. And besides, I was working on American Horror Story at the time, so I'm like surrounded by people with extremely you know, low IMDb numbers. Low is a good thing, by the way, when it comes to that. So you know, at the same time, part of me is trying to be like cool, like this is no big deal, but yeah, it was a huge deal. I mean, I remember looking, and you know, it rolls over at midnight, and so I check at midnight, and it was kind of one of those funny things where it was right around that same time that like Renee Zellweger changed her face. And so, of course, I was like, damn her. You know, I can't compete with that, you know, and then, you know, someone would die and I can't compete with that. And then, you know, but then sure enough, I got to #1, which was, remarkable.
It's also a ranking generated by the actual interests from people in the industry, mostly, who are looking for you because you've done something. So usually people rank up IMDb when they have a big show. For example, I just looked like 10 minutes ago, the people right now in Falcon and the Winter Soldier are up in IMDb to the top 5 because the show is trending right now. But did the fact that you rose up to #1 twice, what did it change for you? Did it start some kind of a domino effect or not at all?
You know, it changed everything and nothing. Like, and of course, I'm not just referring to the number, but you know, just my life. I think, I mean, yes, once you've gotten to be #1, like you're always kind of, I've been kind of hovering between 1 and like 10,000 ever since. And even then, probably not even that low, like probably, you know, 5,000 since. And that's encouraging, you know.
It's big already.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think before American Horror Story, I want to say the week before, I was at like 93,000. And then I jumped from 93,000 to 3,000, which was a massive jump. And then from 3,000 to 300. And then, you know, when you're even just at 3,000, you're with, you know, some name people, but then to 300, now you're like, you know, sandwiched between Brangelina. And then, you know, 1, it's like whoever died or changed their face that week, essentially. So, you know, in my case, I wore a naked dress to like one of the biggest red carpets in Hollywood. So
I remember that. I do remember that, actually. So it changed everything and nothing, which means at the end of the day, what was actually really important was the show in itself and your work on the show.
Right, right. I mean, it's not like, it's not like all the studios called the next day and said, hello, we want to offer you a 3-picture deal. Like nothing really changed, except that, yeah, like I said, I haven't worried about my IMDb number in a long time, and that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Did you have these kind of calls, studios calling or offers coming down your road because of this, or did you make more connections, or did your representation, talent manager and agent, did they have some form of easier way? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. Again, yes and no. I would say in general, yeah, there were times when I no longer have to audition. Sometimes I still do, though. When I do, it is, or at least when we were still auditioning in person before the pandemic, they would actually look up from their phone. I don't know if you remember that scene in La La Land where Emma Stone is, acting her pants off. And of course,
I do.
They're knocking on the door, coming in with lunch. I mean, that happens. Not to diss any casting people, of course, but at the same time, like all of a sudden, people wanted to engage with me, and we, love the show, your character, all this, that, and that was something I hadn't experienced before. So, yeah, like I said, while I didn't have this like. All of a sudden this like red carpet, entry to every role I'd ever wanted. At the same time, I was at least like received in a new, better way, certainly.
How did you arrive? How did you start to work on American Horror Story? What's the genesis, backside story of it? How did you get into casting, and how did this come to you?
Yeah, well, I had an agent at the time who, again, I don't mean to disparage him at all, but he was, this wasn't like a hotshot agent at all. But he, got me an audition. I want to say I was with him for like a year, and in that year I managed to get like 3 auditions. Not a good track record, but of them, one of which was American Horror Story. And so he called, said, you've got an audition tomorrow. There's, he sent me the sides, which were of course dummy sides, because the sides are of course the script that you're to
the lines and the script.
And they were dummy scene, again, because
which means it's a fake scene.
Yeah, it's so secretive. They don't, if they actually release the actual script, well then all the actors, all the managers, all the agents in Hollywood know what American Horror Story is doing this season, and that's not the goal.
Becomes a leak.
Exactly.
And a whole lot of problems.
They basically gave me a scene of Jessica Lange's to do from season 1, which of course didn't help me at all. I had no idea what I was, reading for at all. And then they also had me do a little improv. They gave me a ball, and they asked me to try to get them to play with them. And again, at the time, and they said, as if you were a 4-year-old. Again, this is so unorthodox, because, in television or film, we tend to sort of play our same age range. Like, in theater, sure, you play a little old lady or a child, but not in film and TV. So
they try to stick with the age range you really are.
Sure, the people that you could conceivably play, but of course, they had a whole other plan for me, of course, with the prosthetics and whatnot. And of course, asking me to see if I could, how I would play as a 4-year-old gave them a little bit of an idea of how I might play as a, someone with a brain capacity, of a 4-year-old, which is, of course, a microcephalic. And that's the affliction under which Pepper, suffered. So any case, I mean, I didn't know what to make of all that. It was a real kind of wacky audition. And of course, I was in the waiting room with just a sea of little people. And I thought, gosh, what is this? And can I possibly—
What's happening?
Yeah, like, yeah. I know, I am petite, but like, do I need to have a conversation with my agent about,
why did you send me here?
Yeah, exactly. And I remember sort of berating myself after the audition, like, oh, that's the one you nail, like the one that you can't possibly get, because you're too tall. Again, I've never said that about myself ever, too tall. But, it's a good lesson, ultimately. I feel like, we actors tend to, kind of cast ourselves like, oh, I'll never get this. And like, that's just not the case. Like, that's the casting's job, not ours. So, the fact that I got the audition, that's pretty darn good unto itself. And, it's really my job to just prepare, do as good a job as I can, and then walk away. Forget about it.
Do you remember the first time you stepped foot on set of American Horror Story?
Yeah, I do. It was a big, one of those big day room days where it was just all the, Looney Tunes in the bin. And I remember Ryan Murphy sort of taking a little tour around, and he, say hi to Shelley, the, sex maniac, and oh, there's the guy with Tourette's. Okay. Oh, Pepper, there she is. And I remember him sort of stopping in front of me. And of course, he was talking to the, fellow makeup and, producers on set. And he was like, Pepper's the best. And I remember thinking, ooh, what? What does that mean? Wow. But it's true. They've done really a number on me.
And on that video we're watching right now, at the very beginning, you say some people were almost literally afraid of you because they didn't know what was real and what was not, because it was the set of American Horror Story. So basically, anything could be possible. So how does it help you in a way for the role, and how does it maybe trouble you as a human person to see people around you on your work set look at you that way?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, none of that mattered. I was hired to do a job, and so I needed to do it. I think you're right. After having shot that, I'm able to kind of reflect and say, wow, we really do treat each other differently according to our looks and our size and our shape and our color. I mean, it's messed up. I mean, I know just from working on Freak Show, people like little Jyoti, who played Ma Petite, she would say, like, don't talk to me like I'm a baby. Like, don't coddle me. Like, I'm not, I'm a woman. And I can only imagine what it's like to be her, and I mean, yes, I experienced that firsthand. I had people, kind of like, adult tech people from the cruise saying to me, like, ooh, pull my finger. And I'm thinking, like, it was fun. I'm a playful sort. But I think if I were just a regular, average Joe, I don't think they'd be asking me to pull their finger,
What about the prosthetics and the makeup? In another interview, I heard you say that you actually kind of liked it. Usually actors say, oh, it's a long process, it's painful, it's a lot of makeup. And you said in that interview that it could actually be some kind of fun to dive into the character.
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is tedious. There's many hours involved. But at the same time, you have to also understand my perspective. Like, I just wanted to work. And if let's face it, the prosthetics were a big part of Pepper. So I probably wouldn't be Pepper without the prosthetics. I mean, it takes two to tango, and we were very much like working in tandem. And so, yeah, if I gotta wear prosthetics to be Pepper, then
let's go for it. That's part of the job.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a small sacrifice. I personally enjoyed them only because, having come from the theater where I'm, we act to the back row. Oftentimes in film and television, I'm having to sort of, censor myself, like, remind myself, okay, the camera's right here. You don't have to work that hard. Literally, you can just do nothing. And usually
let the camera do the job.
Yeah, like just you just feel and let the camera take it in. And so but again, given my background in theater and improv, it's just, and you can see even just talking to me, I'm a very animated person. And so the prosthetics, I think, allowed me to act to the back row, and it didn't matter. Like I didn't
like a costume, like a good set, everything that's around you, and in that case on you, it's gonna help you to go in.
It's almost like I needed to do that in order to sort of penetrate the makeup. Like, had I acted in this very kind of staid, still sort of, current day television style, it might not have translated the same.
Yeah. It's been a few years now since American Horror Story. What do you keep from this adventure? What would be kind of your best memory of it?
Oh gosh. I mean, it really did change my life in so many ways. I mean, those 6 months that we were in New Orleans on Freak Show, I think was just a really remarkable time. I mean, working on location is pretty fabulous, especially a place like New Orleans, which is such, it's such a special place. But especially, like I said, working with that particular cast and crew. But I mean, you got to face it, I was in a really unique position. We had people like, we have like A-list actors, Oscar and Emmy winners, like, Jessica Lange, Sarah Paulson. And then you had on the other side, these, freaks, the folks like Rose Siggins, who of course was born without legs. She played Legless Susie. And before this, she worked as a mechanic, literally an auto mechanic. She'd be on a skateboard and she'd just zoom underneath cars, fix them, zoom back out.